And a very warm welcome to the channel. So what are we doing this week? Well, we're transforming this chimney. Now the chimney's a modern build, part of this project on the trawl boat, but it's built with concrete common brick. And I've got to try and make these look like clay common brick. And not just clay common brick, but old clay common brick. So we need our brick tint, our tinting brush, which is covered in red at the minute because I didn't clean it last time, and the good old paint kettle or a jar or something like that, which obviously is to put your brick tint in. There we go. Okay, so word of warning, if you're using this stuff, don't get it all over your hands, because it'll not come off for a week or two. Now we don't tip the whole container in, we just put a bit in at a time, because it settles and you have to keep shaking the tub, otherwise you end up with the material itself separated and it won't work. Right, let's have a look at this wall. So it's quite simple what we do. If you've that was interesting. Right, if you've ever done painting before, it's really kind of no different. You don't want your brush dripping with it, you just want it moistened with it, and then very carefully start to coat your brick. Now, as you can see there, it's still quite light. And what will happen is that'll dry in, so then we apply a second coat to it, which makes it darker. And then once we've done that, we can apply some of the other colour onto it, but not every brick. We're doing random bricks that way. Also, if you're gonna do this, cut out your joints for your repointing, but don't repoint it until you've done your brick tint, for obvious reasons. Because it doesn't matter if we get it in them joints at this stage, because they're going to get filled with mortar. Plus, it's easier to get into all the nooks and crannies at the edge of the brick. And once you get good at it, you know, you can add your colours and you can put like a line in it and shapes and things like that, like you'd see in a natural brick. Now at this stage it doesn't look that impressive, I know. We'll give it time and it will. It'll look like the old brick. So we're using the burnt orange as our base coat, so to speak. I can feel rain coming. And try and see how I'm going. You know, don't try and keep going in sort of similar direction, because you're staining this. You're not painting it. You're staining it. So if you're going that way with your brush, all the lines that the brush leaves will be that way. But if you're going up, down, all over the place, it's going to look a bit tatty. Well, it's better sit on the plank rather than kneel on it. It's rather uncomfortable. Okay. You can see there we're getting underneath the brick because it's chipped away on the edge. So, you can get some into it, because that edge will probably be exposed ever so slightly when it's pointed. And you don't want the white brick showing. Now, you can also do this if you've got a brick. Say, for example, you've had an extension built on your house and the brick isn't quite the right colour, because they couldn't get a perfect match for it. You can actually tint the bricks up using the same method. So it doesn't just have to be old, it can be somewhat new, somewhat modern also. And the more coats you put on, the darker it will get. Also be aware, if you've got, say for example, raw stone or timber that's not been treated or anything like that, and you get it on it, it will stain it. So be very careful if you have got things that may stain. Paint on there, just get that off. Chuck a bit of dye on it there. Just bring you down a little bit. There we go. Move you around there so you can see what we're doing. I'm quite fortunate on this side of the stack. On the other side of it is blowing a bit of a hoolie. I believe there's a big storm coming. And if there is a big storm coming, of course, it means that this week we'll be going off and starting prepping up for a line plastering job. That's if the laths I've ordered and the kibble turns up. Ordered it over a week ago and it's still not arrived. Which is strange because they're normally quite good. Normally a couple of days after your order it's delivered. It must be busy. Right, so you can see there basically how you do your first coat. So we'd leave that now to dry in, to pull into that brick, and it'll take a while because these are concrete, so not a lot of suction on them. And then we apply the next coat and see how dark they go, and then we can always add a bit of that to this burnt orange to make them slightly darker, and then we can pick out the odd brick with the darker stuff as well. Right, so I'll carry on and come back to you shortly. Okay, so we've now got first coat on right round, and as you can see, the bit we did earlier is now dried in. So what we're going to do now, we're going to use the burnt cyan to start picking out the odd brick. Now we don't want to be coating them all with this, so we've got to be a bit more precise with the application. And if you're doing a corner, say like, if you're doing a corner, make sure that you go round the corner as well. Because obviously it's one brick and you don't want it to be, say for example, orange on the face and then on the face around the corner being a red or something, you know, it's got to be the same. It's important when you're using this product that you keep stirring it in your pot. You know, sort of every brushful really, you need to stir it because it will settle rather quickly. Settle and separate. You can get a black, which is for you know, like carbon soot, and you'd apply that. You get a little sponge. It comes in a kit, and you just dab it here and there on the bricks. So it looks like it's got bits of carbon or soot on the brick itself. You don't have to make it all look brand new. You know, you're trying to make it look old, unless you wanted it brand new, that is. If you look at a building, you'll see that, you know, not all the bricks are exactly the same colour. You know, especially on these old commons and things. Even on some of the modern bricks, you know, they vary in colour ever so slightly. So, you know, it's just to do with how they were fired, or you know, the clay that's used, or whatever. You know, it's they do differ in shade. So you can see there now how that by picking out the odd one in one colour, it's starting to look more like brickwork, not something that's painted. So what we need to do now is to change the colour and do some more random ones, and then change the colour again and some more random ones until we've got it looking something like. And once this is pointed up and it's got its nice new chimney pots on, or its reclamation pots on, you know, you're never going to know from down on that ground. You're not going to know that this was ever a concrete common chimney. It'll look like it's always been here and it's always been clay common. And you'll notice on the old common, sometimes you'll get, you know, like a darker bit, like a shape in the middle of the brick, which is darker. And you can do that basically by putting your lighter colour on and then using some darker stuff and just do a nice like oval shape in the centre of the brick. mean, this chimney, there's nothing wrong with it. You know, it's a good solid structure. It's just that it's in the wrong brick. It doesn't match the building. So by doing what we're doing, you know, it's all it's doing is altering its appearance, nothing else. You know, it'll make it blend in lovely with the rest of the building. Especially when it gets those nice crown salt glazed pots on the top. The pointing stage now. It's starting to take shape. It's all going according to plan. On the last bit of the pointing now. This is the side where we're protected from the wind, which is good. Absolutely frozen before. Very cold northwesterly blowing. We'll have the stack itself finished today, and that just leaves them the pots to put on the top and do the flaunching around them. Right, so we're at the stage now where we're going to give it a whack with the old churning brush. It's not necessary on here because it's a cement mortar pointing, but it'll give it the same effect as we have on the rest of the building. Bit's going in my eyes. Goodness me. Very windy day. Right. So the next job is to touch it up with the old brick tint. Only putting a little bit on it. Because it's been left for, well, a good 15 hours, something like that, since it was last coated. So we know that it's nice and dry. Good to take another coat. I've got to be very careful because I don't want to get it onto the stuff we've just put in. Barely putting any on it. And what it's doing, it's covering up all those little marks from the pointing, and it's just giving it another coat to give it a bit more depth colour wise. Looks a little dark at the minute, but it'll go a bit lighter as it dries in. Just got to put a bit of a flunking around the top course, which I'm going to do from the scaffold above. In a moment. Okay, what do we think? Do we like it? Do you think it looks like old bricks? Now here's the back end. Of course, we're not doing anything with the back end because it can't be seen from anywhere, and it's an expense they don't need. What I have done is I've just given it a quick slap at the top with some of the brick tint, just in case, even the very end of the property. I don't think you can, but it's just in case. So if you can see it, you'll only be able to see the very top because it is covered by the roof. There's the rest of it. Right, gotta get up onto that next lift now. Just did a flaunching around the top, and then the next job on the chimney is to whip off them two pots and put two on, same as that one over there. But I don't think we'll be doing that today, not in this wind, because I'll have to stand on top of that chimney to do it. There we go. I've redone the old lead steps down there. Put some new ones in because the ones that were in there, well, I say they were shot. They weren't actually shot. They were just thin and they were getting ready. So what it is, I've changed them, put some new ones in there. There you go, the old concrete chimney, or concrete brick, shall we say. There it is. And there you go. That's the pots now up onto the top level. Bit of a task that. I'm buggered, but they're up all the same. So what I've got to do now is take off the old pots. Just got to get those off there. As you can probably hear, it's extremely windy too. But there's the lovely pots that we're going to be putting on. 2 of them. Right, let's crack on with it. Well, that's got them pots off. They came off a lot easier than I thought they would. They were ready for getting blown off. Didn't take a lot to get them off at all. Right, what we need to do now is get some stuff knocked up and get the new pots bedded on into place and do the flaunching. Well, we've got a fine day. I mean, say a fine day, it's gale force winds blowing. Doing about 40 knots at the minute up here, which isn't pleasant. And the scaffolding is swaying. Lovely. Well, there you go. That's now that completed. Thank goodness for that. Not the best job to do on a day with the remains of a hurricane. But that concludes this week's video. So I hope you enjoyed it. Something a little bit different for you there. Don't forget, thumbs up, very important. We need those thumbs up. We need loads and loads and loads of thumbs up. Can't stress it more. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget, as usual, subscribe if you haven't. See you next week for another episode of Buggering About with Old Buildings.